Welcome, everyone, to the Wednesday morning series. Troy Love is here. We talk about attachment wounds, voices of shame, his finding peace. Work is amazing. He has the Friday morning drop-in group for guys, and they work through that. He also has alternating Thursdays with the betrayed partner, so you can find more information on our website. But I want to share before we get going. We just had the Empowered Women's in-person retreat this last weekend, and so lots of amazing things, but like there were so many moments, Troy, when I was like hearing, and I could identify the attachment wounds, like I could see like, not just betrayal, but like whatever they're sharing. And I won't tell you what they were sharing, it's personal stuff, but like, just to see those patterns. And I think how important your work is. I'm honoring you, and I'm going to cry, but how important your work is to help us identify those things so that we can do the work and not get stuck. So, teary eyes and gratitude for you, and for you being willing to, because I know this is part of a journey for you too, but you being willing to step into this space and help others, throw them a lifeline and help is amazing work. So, okay, I'm good now. So,
Thank you. And I needed to hear that.
yeah, oh, there you go.
So thank you.
So, questions from the group we'd welcome, but since we don't, let's just talk a little bit, about your finding peace work, and the attachment wounds and those terrible voices of shame that we let overtake us sometimes.
Sure. So I know the easiest way, by the way, for y'all to ask us questions is down at the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A button. Some of you I know have been here before because I see your names and I know who you are and I love you. But the Q&A button, if you push that,
Yep.
then
type them in.
Then we'll read that. You can identify yourself or do it anonymously. Either one's fine. So I wrote the Finding Peace workbook. It was printed in 2017. Prior to that, it was just a model that I had in my head that I would write out on a big piece of poster board and share with clients when they'd come into sessions, and it resonated with them. I developed it as a way of helping me understand what was going on with me, why I was so angry, especially even after I had had some sobriety in my life. And I thought that being sober was the solving of all my problems, and that my relationship with my partner would be better, my relationship with my kids would be better. But that wasn't all. Like, there was more work to do besides just being sober. And I realized it's because the numbing behaviors had been my attempt to numb the pain that I'd been dealing with since I was born. And being able to put vocabulary to that, being able to understand that that's what was going on, and then sharing that with other people is part of how this came to be what it is. That's how I ended up being able to be sitting here talking with you. And the more I learned about it, the more I read about it, the more I put pieces together, the more I realized this is pretty universal. The model itself can apply to pretty much any style of therapy, whether that's DBT, CBT, Jungian, psychoeducational, attachment, DBT, all the alphabet types of therapy out there. It really does fit, because what we're really talking about is just how we got hurt as we were growing up, how things have happened in our relationships that cause us pain and haven't maybe entirely healed. And so we find maladaptive ways and sometimes some adaptive ways of dealing with that pain. And then being able to talk about it, and hopefully our partners and our loved ones are willing to share their pain with us, we can create support and we can create connection, which is how attachment wounds are healed. So that's how Finding Peace came to be. And now we'll see where it goes.
Well, and I was thinking, like, Seeking Integrity residential treatment program, we are unique in that we work from a prodependent lens for betrayed partners. So we are not pathologizing them with codependent language and blaming them as part of the problem, and still supporting them in yes, you've had betrayal trauma. Yes, you have neglect, abandonment. Like all of those wounds are still there, and we want to help support, healing for partners as well. So one of the things, our family specialist, Tamara Cooper, who works with partners and of the clients who are with us, was one of the team that was at the retreat this past weekend. And I had not gotten to meet her in person yet, because we live in very different areas of the country. And to be able to meet her and see her in action, really helping process through deep emotional wounds with the women is really powerful. So, still no questions, Troy. I can't believe it. Usually you have bunches. So
Yeah, well, they wait till the last minute.
yeah.
It's oh, we got one.
Oh, yay. We love questions,
It's like
truly,
fishing.
because I
Just
mean, we
sit
can
there.
talk,
Yeah.
Okay. Can you address, and he can, the controlling behaviors that sneak up with couples in this process? My partner who I betrayed needs a lot of safety, and I'm told she wants to control to create safety and predictability since she was out of control and there's no predictability during my acting out. But I struggle with the level of control down to how I dress, wearing masks, driving, cleaning, kitchen, co-parenting, etc. I struggle with the level of control and need to offer unsolicited advice not relative to my addiction integrity. Can you offer any suggestions? If I bring it up, it gets rough.
Thank you for sharing that. So it is a predictable pattern that when somebody feels anxious and out of control, they tighten things up. And the tighter they become, the more that things slip through their fingers, the more that it doesn't actually help their worry. It actually makes it worse. So, but it's understandable, like why the person would do that. So your partner has been betrayed, and so your partner does not feel safe, and so she's picking up on very many different things that could, she believes, be done to help her feel safer, going down to what you're wearing or how you're driving or any of those things. So I get that that's frustrating, and I get that you can understand, because just in the way that you put the question, you understand why she's doing that. Your job isn't to jump and do everything that she's asking you to do. Your job is to have empathy for what she is asking you to do, and then being able to sit with yourself and identify whether that's something that you can do authentically, because it's something you, I don't mean that it's something you want to do, but it's something that is within what you would feel comfortable doing or not. Um, and if it's not, it's okay for you to say no and have empathic dialogue about, hey, that is just not something that I can do. I'm hearing that you need that for safety, but that isn't something I can do. It's your partner probably won't like hearing that, but that's you being honest. And if you say, yes, for example, yes, I will wear a mask, and the whole time you are resenting wearing a mask and you have a really negative attitude about it the whole time because you didn't really want to, that doesn't create safety. In fact, it just makes things even more stressful. So being able to say, I'm hearing that you don't like how I'm driving. Is that something that I'm willing to take a look at? Is that something I'm willing to change? I'll work on that. If that is, I'm seeing that you don't like how I dress, is that something I'm willing to change or take a look at, or no? And say, well, I hear that you don't like that I wear plaid pants with cream striped shirt, but I'm going to do that. But that's you being honest, but you are having dialogue about it. And that's probably the most important part, is to be able to have talk about it. And what you say is, if I bring it up, it gets rough. Of course it gets rough. It does get rough because she doesn't feel safe. So you lean in and you don't get defensive and you hold space and you're like, yep, I get it. And I'm still not going to change my plaid pants because I love them. And
But I'm like if it was a hard no like that, I can imagine like how difficult to me it would be. I'm curious what it about my attire, is like.
right,
I would go to the curious spot first rather than the hard no, because I'm, like you're saying, it's already rough. So I was like if I said, Troy, I really hate that you wear those, plaid pants with that striped shirt, and then you've got a polka dot hat. Like, don't wear that, wear this. And you
and I would
just,
say, well, tell me more about that. Well, you look
yes.
like a clown. Oh, you're embarrassed by the way that I'm looking, and you don't want to be seen with me in public. I hear that. I still want to wear my red pants. I want to wear my pants. And then you get to say, well, I'm not going to the store with you.
Well, could you put a solid shirt on at least with it? Because then there's some negotiation. Because then you don't look like a,
Yeah,
I mean, like, so that was where I was going. Is like,
yeah.
the hard no, like being curious, like, what is it about my attire? What is it about my driving? And yeah, I agree. And there's a very good webinar by Gavin Sharp on healthy boundaries for addicts, and I will find the link and put it in the chat. We all need healthy boundaries. Matt Wheeler, one of Troy's probably best friends, did a webinar not too long ago and said the best relationships have healthy boundaries. Because then you both know, but the boundaries are for safety. They're not punitive against behaviors. And so while she is seeking safety, in a prodependent lens, it's like, well, I see that, and I see you're doing everything you can to make things safe, but I'm wondering if we can, look at those things, and working with a qualified professional will help with that. I just used, again, I mean, I use this one all the time. One of my meditations a few months ago was, if I stand in the middle of a hula hoop, and it doesn't matter who you are, addict or betrayed partner, if I stand in the middle of a hula hoop, I have control over everything inside the hula hoop. I have no control over anybody else. And me trying to control all of those things, with a little family drama a few years ago, I learned the phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys. And I use that a lot, because there's a whole bunch of things that just, like, I can spend all kinds of my personal energy in a negative way focused on somebody else. And guess what? Nothing changes. I'm still nitpicking and all that. If I want joy, and I believe partners deserve joy too. If I want joy, I need to understand, stuff is going to happen, and I need to find my safety outside, from my tribe, from my posse of people. I need to find that support, outside of that. And and while I hope that the addict is doing what they need to do to be on a recovery journey, it's really me seeing their actions and identifying, can I lean into that? Do I see that they're making progress or not? So, but next time I see Troy, I want to see him in his striped pants with his
I don't have.
polka dots. You're going to be shopping today. So, okay. The next question, Troy. I am the addict. It's been 7 months since I attended Sila. We are making good progress, and I have a lot of gratitude for that. Do you know how I can ask my wife to not discuss anxiety producing topics right before we go to bed? It disrupts both of our sleep. We sleep in separate rooms. I'm committed to repairing the relationship. That is a fabulous question. So,
It is.
yes.
I'm laughing because you are not the only one.
Yes.
This happens. Okay, so there's,
Yes.
I don't know if you have children or not. I don't need to know that, but a lot of the reason why that happens is because all day long we've been running around. You've been going to work, taking kids to soccer. You have meetings and all this, and so finally the house is tucked in. Everybody's quiet, and we finally have some moments of not interruptions, not likely that anybody's going to call us. And so I can start to have these conversations. And it just so happens that we're going to do it right as I'm wanting to fall asleep. So part of that is not having this conversation right as you're getting ready to fall asleep, but saying, hey, I notice there's a pattern. that we tend to have these serious conversations, and then I start to fall asleep, and I'm sure that kind of ticks you off because I'm not fully present and I want to be fully present. So can we find a time that is earlier or works better for us, where there's still not going to be some of the interruptions, or we've minimized the interruptions so that we can have these conversations? Because I love talking to you and I want to be there with you, and I'm also falling asleep. Um, and that's not working. So, what can we do to do this? You can also say, help me. What is it about this time that seems to work the best for you? And can we create that time somewhere else? So, that's my thoughts. What are yours?
Well, this is interesting. I had the reverse yesterday. I was talking to an addict and he was doing they have a check-in, and he was doing the check-in, but she's an early morning, early to bed, and he's, not. And so he was doing it at her bedtime. It wasn't going well. And I was like, I wonder if like there's noontime or whatever that you do your check-in. But I am a big fan of scheduled check-ins, conversations, whatever. And I really do think it, like if there's something that's going on, I encourage journaling, having a scheduled time, 20 minutes, so it's not the 4 hour, marathon of, gets into a heated battle. But let's do, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and we do it at 7 o'clock at night, or or we go out for coffee, and so we or go to the park if it's nice weather, whatever. Like find a place and a plan where you have that scheduled time, 10 minutes each if it's 20 minutes, to go back, and it can be like, oh, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to need to think about that. I want to come up with a plan. I acknowledge what you're saying, and I need to process that more. It isn't be defensive or come up with whatever. But yeah, the disrupting each other's sleep. Sleep is really important for both of you. And my husband is not an addict. I am, but like he's done it before. He brings something up right before I go to bed. He hasn't done it in a really long time, because I was like, you are not going to get the best answers out of me or the best participation at this time. This is really important, and I want to be present. So if we can have any kind of like thing that could be disruptive to me a little earlier, like, but yeah, like, because yeah, then I'm like, yeah, it doesn't help me. And I have to do everything I can to not go, why are we talking about this now? So yeah, like if the goal is to bridge the gap for the relationship, how do we do that that's mutually workable? And it has to be mutual. It can't be, well, this is the time she wants to do, but I want, no, then find the in between time. So, but yeah, I totally get that one. So, okay. Next question. My husband and I are living separately after a recent betrayal. He says he is doing better, but I don't see him working through any part of his own recovery. I'm searching for a plan of action. Any suggestions?
Uh, I I'm wondering if you're searching for a plan of action for yourself, or are you searching for a plan of action on his part? So he's telling you that he's doing better, but you're not seeing anything. So there's a couple I don't really like check boxes, but these are little check boxes that you'd be looking at. There's a couple things that you'd be wanting to take a look at. Is he going to therapy? Is he going to um, uh, CSAT? Is he going to a 12-step meeting? Um, is he in a part of a men's group? Is he going to drop-in groups? Like, so part of that is just recognizing, okay, what is he reading any books? Like, is there things that he's doing um, that's showing that he's working on stuff? Because some guys are like, I'm doing stuff, and they're not doing anything. So that's one thing. So do you see that he's doing that? And then what do you need to what's your barometer for whether he's getting better or not? Is he being kinder? Is he checking in more? Is he owning his stuff without getting defensive? Is he apologizing? Like, what do you need to to know that improvements being made? And so spending some time, hopefully you have a therapist yourself, or you're participating in some of the drop-in groups. What are some of the things that you need to see? Now, there are some there are some boundaries that you might be putting in place of like, if these things are not happening, I gotta reconsider what I'm gonna do. I need you to go to therapy. I need you, whatever. But what do you need to feel safe? What's the barometer that you are using to measure whether he's getting better or not? Those are some I can't answer that for you because every situation is different. But what do you need? And if you need some ideas, there are plenty of women out there who could give you some ideas.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And I put in the chat the online work group for betrayed partners starts again on the 19th of February. And part of that is healthy, identifying healthy boundaries. And to put Troy's point, yeah, healthy boundaries, for each person are different, but they do cover the same topics like, physical safety. You're separated. If you haven't had an STI test, please get one. And I get lots of people that say, oh, he was only looking at porn. And do you know how often we get guys that come to our treatment program that were only looking at porn and end up with an STI, and then they have to call? It's a very painful conversation for partners. So part of my safety would be for my physical safety. I'm going to take ownership of that and go get my health taken, checked into. But yeah, he says, I go, addicts lie. So, and minimize and, denial. And yeah, so I'm doing better, and there's this pink cloud, even if he is doing all the right things, right now, there's a pink cloud that, we call in recovery communities because, oh, I'm doing better. I feel better. But, unless, there's a really consistent effort, just not doing the behavior is abstinence. Recovery really takes the work, to integrate, difference, integrity into all of life. We have support sessions. They are not therapy, but often we get betrayed partners that join for like 25 or 50 minutes. Those are on our website that just to point you in a direction and get you set up with, the right therapist or the right whatever. Lots of drop-in groups for betrayed partners too, that you can find support about what other people have done. It's not telling you what to do, it's sharing what they've done, that can be helpful too. So all of those are on our website. You're not alone. Trust your gut. Work on what your healthy boundaries for your safety are. Yeah, and one other thing, we are living separately. I hear that a lot, and then then it's months or years, and people are still living separately. So I think it's really important to work with professionals, if you haven't already, to identify what the plan is. What are you looking for? To have and so that he's very clear on what actions you're looking for, what behaviors you want to see from him, so that there could be possible, reunification and what that would look like, but I think it's important to have a plan for both of you. Then you both understand what the ground rules are, so to speak. So, oh, here's a good one, Troy. Is defensiveness shame?
It is shame-based. So I've been sitting with that, how I would answer that. I think there's a difference between protection and defensiveness, and it will really kind of depend on the situation. But I'm guessing what you're meaning is that if somebody's getting defensive, is that shame? And yeah, it is definitely shame-based. So shame is, according to Brene Brown, the deep and abiding belief and experience that I'm flawed and defective, and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. So, and one of the things that I've come to understand, especially with people who struggle with addiction, is they're not just addicted to their drug of choice, they're addicted to shame. They don't feel like they're worthy of love and belonging. And so then they do things that re-emphasize that they're not worthy of love and belonging. So all of a sudden they get called on the carpet because there's a suspicion. You weren't where you said you were going to be or whatever. And all of a sudden they become defensive. What's happening inside is they're feeling like, oh, even if they didn't do anything wrong that time, what's happening is in their body, they're like, oh, I'm bad, I did something wrong, and immediately they're putting the blocks up and they're wanting to like push away so that they don't have to deal with it. And so they might end up blaming you. They may end up turning the tables. They may be minimizing, all those kind of things. And those are all ways of trying to diminish the pain that they're feeling so they don't have to feel it. And the more that they do that, the more it actually generates more shame. Versus protection, where, like, if I have an invader coming into my home, I'm going to protect what's mine. I'm going to protect my family. And I do that from a place of, I know who I am. I know that I'm enough. I may not know how to fight this dude that's coming into my house, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to protect my family. That's not the same as defensiveness. There in defensiveness, it's like, oh, I feel weak and I feel scared, and there's like nothing I can do. And protection is, I got boundaries, I'm going to stand tall. And so do you hear the difference between the two? And so that isn't shame based. So it's okay to want to have boundaries, protection. But if you find yourself going in defensiveness, or your partner's going into defensiveness, chances are really high they got some shame stories running around, and they're having this tug of war inside of themselves, and they're not feeling grounded.
So I often hear this more on the addict side, the defensiveness. And I was talking to an addict a while ago, and he was telling me what he had shared with his partner, and he was like, "You've got to understand." And I let him go, but then I was like, that first entry was, "You've got to understand," highly defensive. And no, she does not have to understand. Like, it so that does not help. But I think it's often addicts, if a partner's, you know, they may feel they're coming after them, but the partner's talking about something that's important to them, and the addicts immediately, trying to use data to disrupt it. And so it feels really defensive, and it shuts down the partner's like, "You clearly have zero empathy for me. You don't, you are not showing that you are hearing me. I don't feel." So then it keeps that gap, larger. So yes, learning to, I mean, it's okay. I often do I'm uncomfortable right now. Like, if I just own it, I'm uncomfortable right now. I want to be defensive. I want to do that, but I'm going to stay grounded right now so that I can stay present with you. Takes all the energy out of the, in my head going, "Oh, I got to be defensive. I got to make you understand what's real. You're wrong. I got to make you understand, So, yeah, if you're looking for healing and connection, being defensive absolutely pushes someone away. So, okay, why would a PA, LA, porn addict, love addict, never acknowledge what he did was wrong and refuse to talk about what he did? It's been a year since discovery. He's not in any recovery. I think that's your answer, and just acts like I'm just to forget about it and move on. We've been in an in-house separation since June.
I don't know why your person doesn't do that, but I have some uh, possibilities about why someone would do that. Number one, again, is shame. I so if there's a shame-based belief, I'm flawed and defective, I'm a horrible human being, and if I say it out loud, that just validates that I'm a horrible human being. So I'm going to try and bury it and put it under the carpet and pretend that it didn't exist. And I'm just going to go to my grave and never tell anybody that I did this thing. And I'm just going to buckle down and try harder and do like more things. I'm going to pray more, I'm going to do whatever. And I'm just never going to talk about it again. That's a very common response for people until they realize that that doesn't work, and they realize that life continues to fall apart around them. They continue to slip, they continue to struggle, they continue to fall, they can't keep up with their lives anymore, they can't keep up with the anguish that they're feeling in their heart, and so they finally say, "I need help." And then they often will backtrack. they'll it's like a release valve, and they tell somebody, especially like a therapist or something, the first time they tell their partner, and their partner's usually super supportive and like, oh, I'm so glad you tell me, and they feel better, and then they go back to the old way because they are like, and I'm never going to show again, and then it blows up. So it's a cycle that happens. So part of that is that he's in shame, and his fear is, if I tell anybody, bad things are going to happen. What it looks like is the more that he doesn't tell anybody, the more bad things are happening. You already are in-house separation since June. uh you're not feeling any more like you can trust him. You don't see that anything's getting better, and so he's trying to hold everything down and just kind of pretend that everything's fine, hoping that that's how it will be, and that's not reality. And so, and the opposite is happening. You're pulling further and further away, and he may or may not ever come to a place where he realizes, oh crap, me going in and going into a 12-step meeting, or going to a drop-in group, or talking to a therapist and letting some of this stuff out actually feels better, and I don't have to live in this shame anymore. But a lot of partners and people struggling with addiction, that's really, really hard for them to do, and so they'd rather just keep it secret.
And I'm going to flip this, as I often do. What are you doing for you? Like, what are your healthy boundaries? So you've got an in-house separation. What is the plan? I mean, and again, I always say this, there's no judgment or shame. I'm just, raising the question of like, is the plan that you are cohabitating within the same house or dwelling, for years or whatever, often, as soon as the partner really, puts words to their healthy boundaries of like, I'm looking for this, and I can't move closer to you until this. And if you are not able to, so, we just had this empowered women's retreat, and we spent bunches of time talking about healthy boundaries. And I could see the partners, like some of them, it was a very difficult concept for them, because they mistakenly thought that it was about the other person's behaviors. And, so having to identify, it's like multi parts of like, first you do that, like, what do you need for safety? All of those things. And then, what is the boundary? And then what is the consequence? And it isn't punishment against the other person. But we spent multiple sessions, talking about boundaries. So what I often hear, so again, no judgment, but is, we're separated, and he's doing nothing. And you're here, fantastic. But, what support do you have to, regardless of what he does or doesn't do, and what has been communicated with him of, we're going to stay like this, or, we can move together if you are willing to do the work. But yeah, no addict ever changes, until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. And also, no addict ever that I've known, and I've been doing this for decades, has changed on their own. That is a false thing, that, and just stopping the problematic behavior. And I would be curious about that, because, with porn and love addiction, like, is there, I mean, I'm hearing more and more cannabis, or, gaming, or whatever. So, really looking across everything, about these things, these are the problematic things, these are why you're here today. And, we really look across, lots of other behaviors, because, there's lots of different maladaptive coping mechanisms. And that's just the surface stuff that, yes, it feels like it's a problem. It's not. These underlying issues, the stuff Troy's talking about, the attachment wounds, the shame, all of that stuff is really, what all of that stuff is covering. So it's complex. It's not stuff to do on your own. If you're looking for qualified professionals or need resources, Tammy, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com, reach out to me, and I'll do my best to connect you with, with the resources that can be helpful. And I did put in the chat our online work groups, for both, porn addiction, betrayed partners. Troy does the attachment wounds. That's deeper work. That isn't, don't start there. Start with, get that foundation, and then, move towards, that deeper work. But lots of resources for you, low cost, free, so, and then expert treatment for guys like him, that are really struggling. you know, there's more. Okay, here's a good one. They're all good, don't get me wrong, but how can we respond as betrayed to the defense? So there you go.
All right. So do you want to be the wife and I be the addict? And you model how to respond to my
I
defense?
will do my best. Yes,
Or
I
do
will
you
do
want
my
to be
best.
the other way around?
Which let's try it this way, and then we can switch it, and
Okay.
so I'm totally cool with that. So,
So
and
let's
this is in the moment. We have not practiced any of this,
oh,
so it'll be interesting.
so let's what's the scenario? Let's say that you saw me swipe away on my phone as you were coming behind me.
I saw you swipe your phone. That is against our agreed upon boundaries. I thought you were doing your work. I'm feeling really unsafe.
That was nothing. That was nothing. I don't that was I didn't even do that.
I saw you, Troy. I saw you. I saw your phone. I saw what you were doing.
Okay, well, it wasn't anything of anything. It was just not important. It was just a message.
A message to whom?
Just like a Facebook message. That's like to a friend. It was nothing. I could pull it up if you want to see it. I could pull it up. Do you want to see it?
Troy, this is not being helpful. Our boundary is that you're going to stay off social media. Facebook was not even okay.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
that was part of your boundaries. You were not going to do that. Troy, I I can sense that you're not being truthful to yourself or to me. So as a result, I'm going to take myself, I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I would invite you to call your sponsor, schedule an appointment with your therapist. This is not okay. This is a breach of our agreed upon. I want us to be close, but this makes me need to lean into my safety. And that will be, I'm going to remove myself from this situation.
Fine. Whatever. You always are trying to control me.
Troy, I am not trying to control you. I am taking care of me. Control, I have no control over you. I have
I
no control over you. Troy, I'm just work. I want to be in a relationship with you, but when it isn't safe, when there's clearly boundary violations, when there's clearly you are slipping into your middle circle behaviors and you're not even owning it. And I'm not shaming you. I'm telling you, I see this. I care greatly. I hope for our relationship, but I need to take care of me.
It was beautiful. So
Oh,
so notice what Tammy did. So she's not reacting. She's grounded in who she is. She's grounded in what she knows. She knows what the agreement is. She's not getting caught up in the defense or the blame. She's standing by what the agreement was, and she's saying, "Hey, I'm going to take care of me. This is what we agreed upon. It's not working. So I'm going to step back a little bit. I still care about you, and this is what I got to do." So that was a beautiful response.
well, and I was like, no, I don't need to see it. Like I don't want to get caught in that little, I didn't need to do that. I was like, nope, I know my truth, and I'm just going to go take care of me. So, and I think that helps because, I think both parties can get caught in the minutia, and it just ends up being quarrels. And rather than what is the goal, I want us to be in a relationship. I want us to be able to move forward. I see you struggling. I want you to go do your work, and I'm going to be over here taking care of me. So
Apparently, they
hopefully that's
like what we
helpful.
just did. They thought that was really good.
Oh, somebody just said, nice job. Oh, thank you. uh, okay. I'm chirping. I don't know if that means, oh, whatever. I don't know. Okay. It's all good. Okay. Role plays are helpful to see how we are doing as addicts. This is a good question. Do all addicts feel shame? My husband claims he feels none. He believes most men act out with sex workers and there isn't much wrong with it. Is it denial or just a sign that someone is acting entitled?
Well, most men do not go hire sex workers. just so you know. Yes, there are lots of men and women who go out and hire sex workers, but most men do not do that. So that's incorrect. Here's what Brene Brown has learned through the research around shame. All of us feel shame. The only people on the planet who don't feel shame are sociopaths.
Yes.
So I either admit that I feel shame or I admit that I'm a sociopath. Sociopaths do not have the capacity for empathy. They do not have the capacity to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and understand what it's like for them in a feeling emotional kind of way. They might be able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes in order to manipulate them, but they don't
Yes.
do it to see them as human, right? So that's part of the challenge. What is happening, I don't know your husband. What I'm guessing is happening is that he has objectified these sex workers. He does not see them as women. I'm assuming they're women. There's male sex workers too, but
Correct.
um, he doesn't see these people as human. So he doesn't see that they have families. He doesn't see that part of the reason why they might be doing this is because that is the only way that they know how to make money in order to provide for their families. He doesn't see the abuse that these people have gone through in their lives. He doesn't see them as human. He sees them as a tool to use for his benefit. And as long as he continues to view them as less than human, he does not have to feel bad about that. Because if I kick the ladder doesn't care. That doesn't have any feelings. I've been using the ladder as a tool to do what I need to do. If I throw the screwdriver over there, that doesn't care, and I don't feel guilty that I threw the screwdriver there because it doesn't have any feelings. But if I see that this person has feelings and I actually see them as human, well, then I might actually start to feel shame and I might start to feel guilt and I might say, oh, what I'm doing is not good and it's affecting my wife or my husband, it's affecting other people. But in this place of objectifying, I don't have to feel bad about what I do. And so part of the concern that I have is that he's telling you he does not feel shame. And he's telling you he's using the excuse like uh, um, all my bros go do that. And as the parents like, well, if all your bros jumped off the bridge, would you do it? That thing when you were a kid. And trying to help understand that what you're doing may or may not be right or wrong. I'm not here to judge people's behavior, but it's affecting my relationship with you. And that's not okay. And I feel like there's something morally wrong with that. And that's not okay with me. And I'm married to you. So, regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong for those people, it's not working for me. But the bigger concern that I have is that if he truly is telling you he feels no shame, that concerns me a lot.
So before you all run off and I've been in Kentucky, y'all run off and uh, diagnose your spouse as a sociopath. There are a certain number, but it's just like, I get all the time too. Oh, my husband is and I'm using gender, sorry, but my husband is a narcissist. And I was like, if he's a narcissistic personality disorder and has been diagnosed, there's very little hope. If he's got narcissistic traits because he's an addict, there's lots of hopes. And but one of the things I was thinking, Troy, too, is, with the cycle of addiction, like as soon as you start to maybe get on the edge of shame, you go, you go do that dopamine hit. So so you kind of avoid the shame. But yeah, 100%. If you are, if you don't believe, if you believe that everybody else does that, you have completely normalized, and they don't. You have completely normalized that this is all okay. And gosh, my spouse is all upset for no reason because everybody else is doing this. And this is another one of those. If all his friends are doing this, then he's got a problematic circle of friends, So like at some point it's like, those are, if you, I forgot what it is. If you hang with I forgot what it is. I can't remember the saying, but regardless, if you are hanging out with people that this is all normalized, those are problematic people. If he wants to be in a relationship with you, like Troy said, it's like, this is not okay for me and this is not okay with our relationship. And if it's just not a big deal to him, then he can stop, and if he's not an addict, then he can stop on his own. If he's an addict, he'll struggle with that. So, and at some point is, do you want to keep doing all of these things that are hurtful to me, or do you want to be in a relationship with me? On some level, that's kind of what it comes down to. Troy, the next one is, thanks for the role play. It's hard to stay calm though, as his voice raises. Mostly I cry and feel afraid as my wounds are hit, apparently.
So I'm wondering if we can do that again, the role
Mm-hmm.
play, but this time I
Mm-hmm.
want you to pause and tell us what's going on inside of you that's giving you like how you're coping with what I'm saying. Um, but before you do that, I just shared this with some of the men I was working with yesterday, but for the wives, you can do the same thing. What I want you to do is, as you are having this conversation, I'm wanting you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and I want you to focus on your belly button as you're breathing and almost like pull your abs in a little bit as you're doing that to like anchor your core. Your partner will not know that you're doing that at all, but as your partner is talking, you're just breathing in and you're focusing on that, because what that does is that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. As you're breathing into your diaphragm, it helps your brain tell you you're not in an emergency, so you can stay calm. So if you're noticing that things are going up, just you go focus on your breathing while this is happening and see if that changes. But what I want to do is have you do this again, and then you pause and explain what's happening inside of you that you're able to stay grounded. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm gonna before we even start, I'm gonna tell you what. Like, I am very big on paying attention to my feet, like knowing that I'm grounded. So that's part of my thing too. Is like I paid breathing huge, yes, and I agree with that. But like I pay attention. Like if there's a difficult situation, I'm paying attention to where my feet are, knowing that I am grounded. That helps me tons. So okay, we'll try. We're not trying out for SAG. I just want you to know we're not going to the Screen Actors Guild. So
No. Well, maybe. All right. Here we go.
okay, okay.
And I just swipe my phone.
Troy, what I just saw you were swiping your phone. That was middle circle behavior. That is, Troy, that is hurtful behavior to me. That is not okay.
I didn't
As
swipe.
you did, I saw you swiping your phone.
I wasn't swiping my phone.
So I'm breathing and I'm looking at him, and I saw him looking away, like I'm lying. I'm coming up with an excuse. So I'm paying attention to what his cues are too, but I'm also going, I'm trusting my gut. Like, this is huge. I got to trust my gut. I know what I saw. Um, I know that he's an addict. I know he's got brokenness, and I know that his defensiveness and his lies and denial will come up when he's feeling poked. So that's what I'm doing. And then what I'm saying is, I know you, I know you did, and I don't want to argue about this. This is a middle circle behavior, and I need you to take accountability for it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just swiped it away. I was looking at a message. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anybody. It wasn't even anybody. I was just swiping it away.
And I'm going, how could it not be anybody? I mean, was it I'm not going to say this to him, but I'm like, AI? No. So, Troy, messages don't come into phones, usually without. So, again, I'm going to ask you to take accountability for what just happened.
Okay, it was a Facebook message, and I know you don't want me to be on social media because you're so controlling all the time, and I just didn't want you to see that I was on social media. But it's nothing. It was just like a friend.
Okay, now I'm really breathing because I'm like, I'm not. controlling him. Like, this is his program. So now I'm going to respond, Troy. It isn't me controlling. It was part of your circle behaviors that you would not be on Facebook and social media, TikTok, Instagram, all of those are middle circle behaviors because we know what that leads to. So what I'm hearing is that you are in your slippery slope. I'm going to go take care of me, but I'm going to ask that you call your sponsor. I got to stay here. Like if I start crying and getting emotional, like honestly, then he's kind of won because he's pushed me away. Like and he's got me wondering if if I'm okay or if I'm right or did I really see? No, I own what my eyes saw, and I'm not going to let his words, switch it. So I have to stay grounded in that, and it would be okay to step away. Like if you need to go ground for a couple of minutes before like 5 minutes ago, I saw you swipe your phone, like it's okay to, what do you need to do to prepare for this? Like, put your little armor on if you need to, but I'm going to ask you to call your sponsor to take care of you. I'm going to go take care of me because, that was part of our boundaries. And the consequence for me is that I'm going to step away. I want to be in a relationship for you. I know this is a difficult, thing for you. It's difficult for me too. So I'm going to go take care of me, and I'm asking you to take care of you.
Fine. Good.
There's the little 4-year-old. So, okay. All right. So let's see, I'm going to do that one. So thank you, validating and encouraging. Thank you. Yes, that's what we are trying. Oh my gosh. I'm going to get back to the next one too, but actually I saw my narcissistic mom's face and all the hate and aggression. Very scary. Wow. That taps into old stuff.
Old stuff. Yeah. That's why we talk about attachment wounds. Because oftentimes what I'm upset about is not what I'm actually really upset about. It's stuff from the past that I haven't worked through yet. And so this is reminding me of that, and it's super scary. And then my body goes into fight or flight. Of course it does.
Well, and I've shared this before, but I did Troy's retreat, in-person retreat, for my own personal self, and I knew some of the stuff going in. I had abandonment wounds and neglect wounds, but I learned some more stuff that some of them not so. I didn't really want to be a martyr. I'm just going to own it. I didn't want to be the martyr, and guess what? I can have that role, and that's like the one I really really don't want to have. But it pops up. But having the ability to identify, and oh, that's my abandonment wound getting poked. Oh, that's my neglect wound getting poked. I'm going to cry again. But it's okay. It's like that's getting poked, but I can still go back to here. I don't have to go back to the little kid that we saw in narcissistic mom's face and all that hate and aggression. There's so much stuff, that you can learn to do to parent yourself, and just to go, hey, little girl, or, that's what I did. And my little 8-year-old girl, like, it's going to be okay. I can come alongside myself and go, I gotcha, as an adult, and it just helps. It doesn't change the crap that happened to us in the past, but we can approach it in a different way that isn't so darn painful. And, and getting poked is different than getting stabbed. And so you feel it on a different level. So I encourage you as a partner, possibly some EMDR or some somatic stuff to work on some of the old stuff. You got enough on your plate right now, but if you're really feeling that, and you can identify that, it could be a place to go to get some help on those too. But again, we always say partners have enough, trauma and drama in their current life, so start there. But whatever healing you need. Okay. I am a PA and SA, working on my recovery, and sober from SA for a year, but still working on my PA. I still have guilt and shame because of my addiction, even though I'm putting a lot of work into it and proud of. The issue, my relationship with my betrayed spouse has become sort of son-mom relationship, where she mothers all the time, even about my job, in front of others. I feel disrespected. How do I recover my trust frame back from my spouse? Is it that I don't respect myself and just allowing her to do it?
Okay, so I'm gonna go into Dr. Rob energy.
Yes.
I don't do very well. He's really good at being Dr. Rob. I am not. Okay. The reason why your wife has started to be your mother is because you've been acting like the child. And so I'm not, I feel so
It's
bad.
like your little,
I feel
okay,
so bad.
like I was
Yeah.
like that 4-year-old, yeah.
I feel bad saying that, but that's the reality. Okay. So my Dr. Rob energy, because you're acting like a child. And so she then feels like she has to mother you. And then you resent it because you don't want her. Well, guess what? Your wife resents it too. She does not want to be your mother. So I'm really proud of you for doing your work on being sober and those kind of things. And the dynamics of this relationship are often that the spouse acts like the parent. The way to reverse that is not to become all abusive and angry. That's not the way to, that's not how you do it. The way to reverse that is to become the leader, to become the person that can lead and inspire and guide and trust and create safety in the environment. And the only way you can do that is having integrity. That's first and foremost, and seeking integrity. But having integrity, you have to say what you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and no lies, no dishonesty, and then speak your truth, speak your feelings, those kind of things. So you your your you have to step into that. Now, that may be really hard for you because maybe you didn't have anybody model that for you. And honestly, especially in the United States and probably Canada too, there have there have not been that many great examples of healthy masculinity, healthy male leadership. There's been a heck of a lot of not so great, but not a whole lot of healthy. And so we've never had anybody really teach us what that looks like. But our partners are looking to us and wanting to be connected and work together. They do not want to have to be the parent, but we behave in a way that puts them there. So we have to behave ourselves out of that and create a sense of our partner can trust that we're gonna we're gonna do it, and they don't have to tell us what to do. And that's hard. We have some family enmeshment. Dr. somebody that I can't remember his
Ken
name.
Adams.
Dr. Adams has a weekend around that. It's particularly about men and their mothers, but you could use that same principles with you and your wife. How did you become enmeshed? That you needed your wife or you needed your mother to tell you that you were a good boy, rather than recognizing that I'm a good boy because I'm doing the right thing. I'm following my values. I don't need external validation for that. So those are my thoughts.
And I'm going to tag on with that. I'm like, because I read, I'm doing well for SA, but I'm still working on PA. So what I hear, and I'm making this up, is that you are not really in recovery yet. So that creates a gap for the two of you. You are not showing that you are trustworthy yet, so stopping this behavior, but leaning into this one isn't going to provide that safety. We talked earlier about the setting the 20-minute conversations. It would be a great topic to say, one of the things that when you talk about these things in front of other people, I feel really disrespected. I want to be closer to you. And the other, I feel like you are parental with me. It's my job to do my recovery work, which, she could come back to you and go, but you aren't doing it because you aren't, really in recovery, it's, I'm doing the best that I can, to do this. But I'll tell you what, bump up the work on the PA too. Like, if you haven't done our online recovery group, like there's an SA and PA. Since you have SA, I would do the SA because many SAs have PA, but it's not okay to use a crutch, for, it's like, cannabis. It's not okay. Like, we have to look at all of the ways we're looking to escape, because guess what? That puts us in a, childlike position where, we're not showing up as an adult to deal with the stuff that life brings. So to me, yes, you're making progress, and there's still opportunities for lots of things, but, having a discussion, not a fight, about like, can we talk about these things? Can we be in a different relationship? I have often shared Dr. Stan Tatkin's podcast with Dr. Rob, and I found it. It's January 2019. Who knew it was so long ago? But it's we do in a healthy relationship. We focus on what's good for the relationship. We show up. We are in partnership, us against the world. Not the drama of the other. There's a Cartman drama triangle, and I'm trying to figure out how to have that be a webinar, because it's brilliant stuff, but it's the negative two step, I call it. This is a dance that you do this, I do this, you do this, I do this, and you do it over and over and over again, and those patterns keep repeating until someone goes, hey, I'm going to re-choreograph this, and you can. So I'm telling you, there's hope. I'm so glad you're asking the question. People get stuck in these dynamics, and at some point it's like, hey, can we do this differently? I feel disrespected. I'm sure she doesn't feel safe. So like, how do we be respectful of each other, particularly in front of other people? So, oh, thank you for making me laugh. That's good. There was one other question. I guess we're out of time, but I love
I asked them if they could come back and ask it next time. So
yes, because it's so good. That was a really good one. So yes, thank you all for the great questions. Thank you for being willing today. Troy, as always, it is fun, and we laugh, and but that was fun. So
you're welcome.
always great information. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.